Thanks for tuning in to our NASCAR coverage on Proline TV. I'm your host, Greg DePalma, along with RotoWire.com fantasy writer CJ Radune. CJ, how's it going?
It is going. Getting really excited for this visit to Texas this weekend.
Yeah, we all are. Everybody is. It's a great time of year. Of course, this is all politics. See, this is one of the things that as a fan, I'm kind of wondering, well, they just had all this, had this big legal battle. And a lot of it had to do with getting the point of view from the drivers on a lot of different things. Well, I mean, there has to be some give and take in there. So you would think if the drivers got something to save face in some sort of a debate with scheduling or racetracks, this would probably be number one on the list. That drivers would go, can we get out of Texas? We just can't drive there anymore. Okay. I mean, nobody wants to drive here. It's terrible. It's a terrible track.
Yeah. On the hierarchy of bad tracks, I think the Charlotte road course is number one. That was explicitly called out after the lawsuit. But I got to believe that the changes to Texas, I just don't think worked. You've got these 1.5 mile quad ovals. They were all pretty similar, kind of cookie cutter. Texas wanted to do something a little bit different, so they changed the banking. Texas also has.
When was that?
I can't remember. I can look it up when we talk.
Was it like here, though? 10 years ago or 3
yeah, it was quite a while.
Okay,
it was,
that's okay. Don't worry about
it was quite a while ago. But it's been chaotic. The racing is not good you need the steeper banking and even the progressive banking to open up different grooves. The way that this track is configured, it kind of races a little bit more like Darlington, where you've got two completely different ends of the track and a bumpy surface that just makes it really difficult. And it was especially hard with the aerodynamics of the last cars, but we found out that these cars are also aerodynamically dependent as well. So it's still a problem at Texas, unfortunately.
Yeah. Matter of fact, if you look at it, you mentioned, of course, the bumps, and they've got that really big one on turn 3.
Yep.
And so if you look at it, just the last 3 years have been really chaotic with qualifying and practice. You see all sorts of wrecks. You have drivers gambling on 2 tires. You get these really crazy restarts. The outside lane is the better lane. Matter of fact, even last year, Logano stole the race. He was never a factor until the end of the race. He basically took advantage because there were a few different situations. I mean, Ryan Blaney, his teammate, looked like he was going to win the race, but there were some late cautions that came out, and that kind of screwed him, and he wasn't being able to work it well at all on the restarts. McDowell almost stole the race, too, on a 2-tire stop. And then you also had William Byron, who might have won had he not had a pit road incident that damaged his grill when he had to lead. So just a crazy track where, like, the beginning of the races are going to be kind of boring. Like if you're on the pole and it looks like you're pretty fast, you're going to probably lead a bunch of laps early. That's what we've seen. And it's boring for the first half. You just probably shouldn't even watch it. But then at the end, that's when things get all chaotic, as I mentioned, because you can have different. And now look, I think in a way, at least the chaos does give you as a fan unpredictability. So that's good. I'd rather have that than have the dominating throughout the entire race, which we get early. So, so again, but it also makes it very hard to handicap. That's the thing that just makes it almost impossible to figure out who the heck's going to win the race.
Yeah, I totally agree. I just looked it up. 2017 was when it was reprofiled, and they tried to extend or widen the racing surface in turns 1 and 2, which are the turns that they reduced the banking on. But if you don't have that banking, you can't run side by side anyway. So what's the point of having a wider track? But yeah, like you said, the cautions breed the ability for teams and drivers to try different strategies, do the 2-tire stops, gamble on track position, that type of thing. So as the race goes on, it gets a little bit more competitive. But Yeah, it's really hard to follow up until that point. It's all, I don't want to say it's manufactured because the cautions happen for legitimate reasons, but it's almost like a fake manufacturing of excitement toward the end, just as a result of how cautions fall.
Okay, so now some interesting trends that we do have. Again, it doesn't make it a whole lot easier, but it does give us at least something. And that is the fact that just like last week, and again, it happened again, where we had another different winner at Talladega. I think that's 12 straight or something like that, somewhere along the lines. So so we gave you that. If you stuck with it, then maybe you got to win, because we got to win, Hocevar. So so that's actually, I'm actually having a good season so far. I've got 4 wins, and I am in the plus category by about, I think it's close to 300. So that was a big one I needed last week from Hocevar to kind of give me some wiggle room now for a few weeks in case I go into a losing streak. So even with Reddick screwing me and everybody out there who didn't have Reddick for the first few weeks of the season, I've been able to come out of this pretty well. And of course, last week was just all luck, as it usually is. And I can't believe I actually had a driver to win the race the way everybody else got taken out. But as far as this week, 9 different race winners. And Chevy, though, you want to take a look at Chevy. They're a definite manufacturer edge here. They've won 5 of the last 7. Toyota has only won 1 out of 8. Ford has won 1 out of 7. So that's something you want to, maybe if you want to, just sometimes the whole different race winner thing can be a little bit a strange way to go, but hey, it's work. So if you want to go that route, look for a Chevy driver. And just to show you how hard it is regarding qualifying, the last 3 winners started an average of 23rd place. 23rd. That's where they started. And even going back to the last 7 winners, it's 14.8, and that's not even all that great considering we're going to the last 7 winners. So qualifying has not met a whole lot. Why do you think that's the case at this track?
Cautions. We talked about it when the chaos opens up at the end of the race. Those teams that were brave went off strategy, were able to consolidate track position by the way that those cautions fell, and then they were able to hang on to it. We saw that earlier this season. I think it was Chase Elliott who was really stretching to be able to stay on that off strategy, hoping for a yellow. The yellow came at the right time. That cycled everybody back into the pits, and he was right back on strategy with everybody else, and he just maintained his position from there to go on for the win. And that's exactly what has happened over the past couple of races here. So the more cautions you have, the more wild strategies can get, and that gives not only drivers and teams the opportunity to work on their car in pit road, whereas if they're on green flag stops, they don't have time to make changes. They can make changes under caution, but that then also allows them to try the 2 tire stops, no fuel, etc.
Okay. And just again, to tell you how crazy it is, last year, Joey Logano's Saturday looked like this: 27th qualifying, 31st practice. And he won the race. So we'll do our best on Saturday after qualifying and practice to give you our insight on how we might see this thing going. But let's get going. All right. So it's a 1.5 mile track as well. And there is no other track like this. Would that be correct?
That's correct. I mean, you've got Charlotte and Atlanta is very different now with its super speedway configuration, but Texas stands alone because of the different banking in 1 and 2 versus 3 and 4.
Okay. So who do you think is the favorite? Because this might, I don't know if you'll get this.
I honestly have no idea, so I will go with Tyler Reddick since he's a past winner at the track and he's just been super hot. Yeah, Hamlin was on my list, but I had no idea which direction to go.
Well, Reddick is next, as is Kyle Larson. So they are the top 3, and they have a little bit of room too. So let's start with these 3. Now look, you look at Hamlin as the favorite, and this is a surprise. I really don't know why he's the favorite. It's not like he's coming in here on some sort of winning streak like Reddick, say. And it's not like he's led like 1,000 laps here in his career. He's only led over 300 in 35 races. I mean, you do the math. That's less than 10 laps a race. So it's not like he's doing any, he does have 3 wins, but that's Denny Hamlin. That's fine. That's what we expect out of a Hall of Fame driver over 35 races. But he only has 1 top 5 in his last 8. He's led 53 laps during that time. And that is all that has come since his last win. So he won back in 2019. He led 45 laps, but since then, 1 top 5 last 8. Average start in his last 12 races, 6.2. Average finish, 18.2. And it didn't help the last 2 years for him to finish 38th and 30th. So I don't really see Denny Hamlin as a good choice this week, especially for fantasy. Reddick, meanwhile, does have his win back in 2022 when he led 70 laps. And in his last 4 years, he's led 36 or more laps in 3 of his last 4, with 2 top 5s and a win. And in his last 6 starts, if you look at it, it's interesting. And this is going to be a driver we're definitely going to talk about on Saturday. Very, very interesting that generally where he starts the race is where he finishes. So if he starts 20th or 15th, don't take him. But if he starts in the top 10 or the top 5, then he is definitely in play. That's just been his history. And Kyle Larson, meanwhile, I think overall I probably would put him at the top just based on history, even though he only has 1 win. But in his last 5 years, he's led 19 or more laps in all 5, including 77 or more in 4 of his last 5. And he led 256 in his win from the pole in 2021. He was 4th last year when he led 90 laps from the 4th position, and he dominated the race early. But as we said, that's what happens. So, yeah, I'd probably put Larson at the top here. I would probably put him as the odds leader, but I would still side with Reddick just because of the fact that Reddick's got all the good happening with him this year. And Kyle Larson is amazing when they put that stat up last week. The fact that he hasn't won a race in over 30-something starts.
I do agree. I think Larson is the one to have at the top of this list just because he's consistently out front leading laps. This is a track where we talk about Kyle Larson being relatively inconsistent. Either he wins or he crashes out. And that was a lot of the story last year. He's been a little bit more consistent this year, but he has yet to get into victory lane. Texas represents that. You mentioned he led from pole or won from pole in 2021 with 256 laps led. He's led the last 3 races, 77 laps or more. In all 3 of them, he started 11th, started on pole in one of those. So he's able to get out front and lead a lot of laps, which is why I put him at the top of the bunch. He's just got to finish off that race. He's got to get over the consistency and get that win. But like you said, everything is going right for Tyler Reddick, and he's probably equally as good. Just in the last 4 starts at Texas, he's got 2 top 5s. If he qualifies inside the top 5, you can almost be guaranteed he's going to finish inside the top 5 here as well. So I think Larson probably would be who I'd put at the top, but only by a hair for Reddick, only because I want to wait and see where he qualifies.
All right. Okay, next group. Let's see. Yeah, let's go here. So we've got Blaney, Bell, and Byron, 9 and 10 to 1. Blaney, even though he's never won here, he's led 451 laps, and that's over 100 more than Denny Hamlin in half the races. So and 5 top 5s out of 17 is not bad. Plus 9 top 10s in his last 12 with 5 top 5s. The other race results, though, were 28th, 33, and 37th, which is the reason why, maybe some of his stats are skewed. But in his last 4, he's finished 3rd and 4th in 2 of them, and he's led over 17 laps also in 2 of them, even though it's interesting because he started last year 24th, finished 3rd. The previous year, he started 7th and finished 33rd. So qualifying once again doesn't seem to matter much. His average starting position is 10.6. His average finish is 16.5. So that's not good. But I think he's a better waging option than fantasy because I wouldn't want to take the chance with fantasy, but I'm willing at 9-1 because he seems to be getting close as much as he hates this track. And he said it last year. It's obvious no one hates the track more than he does. So, but maybe he wants to, win so he can shove it up the track's ass. Bell, though, I don't really see that. I've got too many other options with Bell. Even though he has 3 top 5s, he's only led 6 laps, hasn't shown much else, and he's getting a low number here. So I'm not really getting any value. Byron, meanwhile, I think is much better value. You've got 3 top 5s and a win, and he's led a lot more laps also than Bell. But more importantly, in his last 5 years, his average starting position is 8.2, and his average finish is 5.2. So that's pretty good considering where his average start is. Last year, he started second, led 22 laps, finished 13th. So I would probably go Byron 1, Blaney 2, Bell 3.
I do agree with you. It would not be surprising for me, as much as he hates this track, to see Ryan Blaney win at it. Joey Logano won last year, and Penske's just been extremely good. And Ford in general actually has been pretty good at this track, even though Chevrolet seems to be winning more frequently. So I think Blaney is a good choice. Byron, though, gives you the consistency. So last 5 races here, actually the last 6 races at Texas, he's finished 13th or better. 4 of those were top 10 finishes. 3 of those were top 5s. 1 of them was a win. He's leading laps here on a regular basis. So I think of all the drivers, the 6 so far that we've talked about, I'd probably put Byron at the top of the list, to be honest with you. The odds are really good for somebody who's delivering that consistency at a track that is very unpredictable like this.
Yeah, I think maybe some of that also has to just do with the fact that he's been a little bit of a rut lately. Yeah. But, even Ryan Blaney's had a couple of bad results the last couple of weeks. And does anybody really care about what your result was last week? So
Talladega.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, right. Big surprise at Ryan Blaney. See, this is what we said last week. When these drivers get into the bad luck runs at these super speedways, you got to stay away from them. And sure enough, it happened again to Logano and Blaney. They're on a really bad run there. And even Hamlin had another bad outing as well. All right, now let's get to some better options here. We'll continue with even better options, I should say. Let's go here with these 3. And we'll first start with Logano, Elliott, and Briscoe. And I think, look, Logano winning back-to-back, not going to be easy, but he's been really good here with 13 top 5s and a couple of wins in 30 races. And check this out, though. The last 3 starts, he's averaged 22.3. And that included the 27th start last year when he won. But I look at him and it's one of those things where I think I'd want to take advantage of him only in fantasy if he does qualify way out there. I don't know what to make of him, but I think if I do, then I stand a better chance of maybe, getting some more points that way. But Chase Elliott, he's the one that really sticks out for me in this group. Even though he only has 1 top 5 in his last 13 races here, which happened to be a win in 2024, he started 24th, led 39 laps in that win. But in his last 3 races, he started 27.3 average. His last 3 results, 9.3 and a win. Matter of fact, he's gained 64 positions in his last 3 races here. So that's why he sticks out for me. But Briscoe, meanwhile, has never led a lap. And so there's some definite questions there. You might look at his stats and get really excited because his average start is 22.8 and his average finish is 12.6. But keep in mind, his last 2, he's lost 6 positions, and it's basically been with Joe Gibbs. So he was better with Stuart Haas than Joe Gibbs here. even though we know he's better overall with Joe Gibbs. But this has not been a track that has worked for Chase Briscoe so far with Joe Gibbs Racing. So just keep that in mind. So I'd go Elliott, Logano, then Briscoe. Again, Elliott's not my favorite pick, but he's definitely, I like the fact that I'm getting better odds here.
Yeah, I think I put Elliott at the top of the list. The finishing differential is just tremendous there. It seems like no matter where he starts, he's able to find his way inside the top 10 by the finish. So that in and of itself makes him a must play for fantasy rosters, and probably a pretty good wager option as well. I might flip Briscoe and Logano though. I'd probably put Briscoe ahead. You're exactly right in that he was better with Stuart Haas than he was with Joe Gibbs, or has been with Joe Gibbs so far. But that's only been one race with Joe Gibbs, and he retired due to a suspension issue pretty late in the race. But give me one more. Let me see how he's able to, adapt to the equipment. I said a lot last year when he was new to the team that the second time around at the tracks with this team, he'd probably be better. This is the second time around this week for Chase Briscoe with Joe Gibbs at Texas, so I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. And then Joey Logano, I want to stay away from just because his luck this year has just been awful. It seems like regardless of whether he has speed or not, something jumps up and bites him, and he's not able to capitalize on it. So winning 2 in a row plus on a really poor run of bad luck so far in 2026, I kind of want to stay away from Logano.
Okay. Let's go with the next group here. We'll get to these 4 drivers. So we got Gibbs, last week's winner, Wallace and Buescher, and not really a great group here. I guess the one that would stick out, unfortunately, is Bubba Wallace, because we can never trust Bubba. In his last 3 years here, his average start is 6.6. His average finish, though, is 14.3, but you have to take into account the crash he had last year, 33rd. Plus, he led 111 laps in the 2023 race from the pole and finished 3rd. So that puts him in a good position to be another top 10 type driver this week. Hocevar is not a bad option. The problem is he won last week, and a driver that has won his first ever Cup race, to expect him to win back-to-back is a really long shot. He did lead 22 laps from the pole here last year, but finished 24th. Gibbs has actually been a really bad fantasy driver here. In 4 career starts, his average start is 7th. His average finish is 22nd. He's lost 71 positions, and that's not what you're looking for in fantasy. And Chris Buescher, this might be his worst track.
Sadly, because I think it's his home track too. He's from Texas. Yeah, nothing to talk about with Buescher. 16 starts, 0 top 10s, start of 21.1, average finish 21.9. So really nothing to say there. Bubba Wallace, I tend to agree with you, kind of up and down. Kind of don't know what you're going to get. He was 33rd in the fall race, crashed out, finished 7th in the spring race. So kind of up and down. I like Gibbs because of his qualifying. So he's got good speed. He's qualified 6th or better in the last 3 visits to Texas, but only has 1 top 15, not a top 10 yet. So he's got to pull that whole race together. So quite honestly, I'd probably be willing to take my chances with Carson Hocevar going back to back for his first 2 wins, because he's just been better here. Started on pole, led 22 laps before finishing 24th last year. And then in the fall race of in the spring of 2024, he grabbed a top 10, and that was before he was Carson Hocevar that we a lot more confident. So I'm willing to take my chances out of this group and put Hocevar on top and put Gibbs second.
Okay. Next up, we have right here, we've got 2 of the better value plays in the race. Matter of fact, I'm telling everybody right now who's watching this race, we do this every once in a while. Stop what you're doing after the show and race to the sports book and place money on Ross Chastain. So do it right now. Don't wait, because that number is going to drop. And If it doesn't, I'd be surprised. But the good thing too is because of where he is, he's going to be a great fantasy play for your contest this week. Because if you look at it, all we need to look at are the last 3 years. Okay. And if it wasn't for William Byron wrecking him in 2024 on the final lap, he would have finished second in his last 3 races here. And he also, if you look at it, he started 31st last year, 12th in 2024, and 5th in 2023. 7th last week, I think also is important because that gives him a little bit of confidence, no matter how outrageous the situation. Sort of like Kyle Busch's 10th. Yeah, I mean, what does it really mean? But it's something positive because he hasn't had a great year, which is why you're getting 35-1. But I'll take advantage of that. Horses for courses. And as far as the other group, if you look at Keselowski, I think he's another solid play, even though he's never won here. And Daniel Suarez, his average start in his last 9. Just take a look at his last 9. His average start is 17.4. His average finish is 11.2. And in the last 3 years, he's finished 10th, 5th, and 8th. And even Cindric, I don't know what to make of Cindric because the fantasy numbers are not good. Average start to finish is -10, but he did lead 60 laps last year, and he doesn't have a lot of experience here, and it's a big number. So this whole group intrigues me, especially with their big numbers and some fantasy options.
Agreed. For Keselowski and Cindric, like I said earlier, the Fords tend to do really well here for some reason. And Cindric is case in point, 60 laps led, but the finish to go along with it. He started 3rd, ended up finishing 25th last year. The 2024 race, he also started inside the top 10 and finished 25th, but didn't lead any laps. So he's got qualifying speed, able to get up there inside the top 10 on a regular basis, get out there, lead some laps, but again, just needs to put it together for the whole race. Suarez, like you said, a really great average, but that's with Trackhouse Racing. We'll see what he's able to do with Fire. The other Trackhouse Racing guy is Ross Chastain, who continues to do extremely well. And even if you look at the screen there, at 35 to 1 to win, but the top 5 and the top 10 odds, 425 and 165 for those are both attractive options as well. Like you said, regular top 5 finisher. I would not be surprised at all if Ross Chastain gets his best finish of the year so far at this track.
Yeah, so top 5 is 4-1. No, wait, top 5 it was a 10-1 and 4-1. Probably. Yeah, 10-1 and 4-1.
10-1 and 4-1. Yep.
Okay, so
sorry,
that's that 4-1 for top 5. That is pretty good. I mean, look, all he has to do is finish the way he's been finishing the last 3 years, even though his result wasn't, in 2024 because of the wreck. But that would have been a winner in the last 3. Okay, moving on. This group is not as impressive. Matter of fact, I can't really say a whole lot. I mean, Priest, nope, doesn't do anything here. Bowman, same thing, not very good here at all. And Kyle, historically, is very good here, but has just not been good overall. He does have a top 10 with RCR, 1 out of 3, and it's a humongous number. Boy, Kyle Busch at 70-1 now is getting a little outrageous. Josh Berry led 41 laps last year, but he finished 32nd. He also finished 36th the year before that. So who would you take here?
Josh Berry, another Ford allied with Penske. So that's where the 41 laps led is coming from. I think another one that qualified inside the top 10 last year. So I will stick with that theme for Josh Berry. Kyle Busch, interesting to note, they did change his crew chief again for him. So he had a new one to start the year. They already made an immediate change after the struggles that he's had so far as well. So more changes in Kyle Busch's camp as they try to figure out what's going wrong. And like you said, with Ryan Preece and Alex Bowman, no results here in the past to speak of. So that puts Berry up on top in this group for me.
Okay. In this group, Corey Haim, I think I'd be more interested in Heim if he was on a track where Toyota had more success. But because what was his last race? He's only raced how many times? 3, 4. What is he? Oh, two races. So he had Kansas. That was a 15th. And I bring it up just because of the fact that, again, if you're looking at long shots that are going to be very cheap for your fantasy, he's going to be one of them. And he was a really good fantasy play at Kansas. I mean, that's what you want out of the cheapest driver you can get to get a 15th place. That's good. One of your last drives, that should be your last driver, of course, but 15th, that's good. Now, could you get a 15th here? I don't know, but again, that's what I wish he was, driving a different manufacturer in this track, because Toyota, again, hasn't really been all that great. Not that it can't happen. And then the rest of this group, Austin Dillon is definitely the one that sticks out. He's got the win in 2020 when he led 22 laps. And in his last 2 years, both top 10s. He started 15th and 19th, so he's gained 19 positions. At a big number, maybe a tiny little bit of a long shot play, but definitely a fantasy option, especially in this group.
Yeah, just 2 top 10s of the past 2 races puts Austin Dillon at the top. I do think Corey Heim, we're going to be talking a lot about him in the future as he continues to get races under his belt and he comes forward. That was a good race, good 15th place finish from him. I agree. I think he's probably got the deck stacked against him just based on the car that he's in at this type of track. He did win in the Truck Series last year, so he's excellent at this track. He gets it, but the equipment and everything backing him up just might, it's a different level when you get to Cup. So he's going to have all the work to do. And I think Austin Dillon's probably a little bit more poised with Chevrolet, as well as his experience at this track at the Cup level.
Yeah, because it looks like they're probably going to be in the same section.
Yep.
And that's why it does make a lot more sense to go with Austin. Okay. And then moving on. There we go. So moving on, as far as this group is concerned, Eric Jones is definitely the one that sticks out. He's had a really good go here. Matter of fact, he'll be another really good fantasy play at this cap number. He has over 50%. I think it's 60% top 10s, 8 out of 14. 4 of those are top 5s. He led over 100 laps here. And his average start is 16.6. His average finish is 11.8. Last year started 14th, finished 5th. So out of this group, I'm definitely on Eric Jones. And I would keep an eye on Herbst and Hunter. Hunter because he's teammates with Jones. Herbst just because I still am interested in how he's going to go about racing. I'm not concerned about what happened last week, of course, in a potluck track. AJ, I've got no interest in this week, but Eric Jones does seem to stick out, doesn't he?
Oh, without a doubt. I think he was in the mix to win this race last year. No reason to think that he's going to have a severe drop-off in performance this year. And then I agree with you. I think just based on the fact that they're teammates and this car seemed to work pretty well last year, why not keep John Hunter in the conversation as well?
Okay, and then as far as the rest... Zilich, Gilliland, Shane. Shane could be interesting because in his only start here last year, he was 37th and finished 22nd. So that's pretty good. And also Ty Dillon, Austin's brother. I guess, well, it's Texas, so you give them a little bit of a shot there. In his last 5 results at Texas, average start 28.8, average finish 17.4, finished 12th last year, started 23rd. So this is actually one of Ty Dillon's better tracks. So again, if you're looking for dirt cheap options, he's definitely one of the better ones.
Yeah, for me, it's SVG moving forward as he did last year. with the greater fall off that they're aiming for this year, the uniqueness of this track, that kind of all plays into his hands. So obviously not going to be at the top of the list, but I'll look for him to continue improving and getting an even better finish than he did last year here at Texas.
Now it's time for our picks. So CJ, you've got the first pick.
I will take the best value, as I said earlier, and go with William Byron.
Okay, William Byron, another Chevy. That makes a lot of sense. All right, let's see. What do I do? And it's going to be between Reddick and Blaney. So, yeah, it's almost like I do wish I had an opportunity to see what Reddick was going to qualify. That definitely matters. So I'll tell you what, I'll take Blaney. Maybe the karma will just be too good to pass up.
Yeah, I think it's a really good choice. My second one will be Chastain.
Oh yeah, that's and it should be the second one. Even though, I mean, how often are we taking 35-1 shots with our second pick?
Almost never.
Yeah. So absolutely. Okay. And then I could probably go with, I tell you what, I'll take Elliott with my second pick.
I'll go very deep. I'll go with Eric Jones.
Eric Jones, long shot. And I will, let's see, I'll go with between either Keselowski and Suarez. So I'll go with Keselowski. Again, in his last 7 races, his average start 10.2, average finish 9.1. So I'll take Keselowski because sooner or later, Keselowski is going to win again.
I do agree.
Just don't know when. So maybe it'll be in a race that nobody's expecting because, again, this is a kind of race that nobody expects. Nobody knows what to expect. Oh, and I guess what I should do too is let me see if I could go over those drivers as far as if you want to play the he hasn't won here deal. So these are the drivers that you would have to stay away from. Denny Hamlin, Austin Dillon, Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, Tyler Reddick, William Byron, Chase Elliott, and Joey Logano. So if you're going to go with that trend, just like we talked about last week, and if it hits it again, then none of those drivers will win on Sunday. And that's okay with us because I don't see Ross Chastain there. So that'd be a nice big win, 35-1.
Give me a good chance to catch up.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I'll have qualifying on Saturday as usual. And then your report comes out on Friday.
We will have it on Friday at rotowire.com. And it'll preview for this unpredictable Texas race. I think your picks for fantasy are going to be a little bit different, as we talked about, than wagering on the winners. So definitely want to check that out on Friday before you get prepped for the weekend.
Qualifying should be over at about 2:30 Eastern on Saturday. So that's good. That means we'll probably have a report all set up to go somewhere around between 3 and 4, I would guess, on Saturday. That's the best guess for our report. And then when we do that, we'll update with the link to CJ's report at RotoWire. Of course, you can look in the description area of this video right now. Click it. It goes to CJ's page at RotoWire. If you want to bookmark that as well, you should. So CJ, now we're going to be on a different day next week, correct?
Correct. We're going to try to push to Wednesday.
Okay. So Wednesday, looking like the same time right now. So just keep that in mind. That's why I want to subscribe, and you never miss when the show is going to be available. So we'll lose a day next week. And then is the next week the last week for you?
Yeah, next week, the week following will be the preview for, well, actually, no.
We have 2 more weeks?
Watkins Glen. Yeah, 2 more weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll get through Watkins Glen and then the preview for the All-Star race at Dover, which is also going to be terribly exciting. Cannot wait.
Well, the All-Star week where CJ is going to be here we're going to hope to be able to preview the Coke 600.
Because the All-Star race is so exciting, we're going to skip over it and do Charlotte instead.
Yes. And basically because CJ is going to go on vacation, so he won't be available the week of the 600. So we figure we'll get it done there. I mean, look, it's also possible we just might air it, record it, and then just air it the week of the race. But whatever, we'll figure it out. Either way, the point is we're going to be able to get CJ's advice and analysis on the Coke 600, even though he won't be here that week. And so it really kind of works out with the All-Star race. So you really don't miss anything. So
exactly right.
Yeah. All right. So that's going to wrap it up. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see everybody on Saturday here at Pro Line.